Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. And this is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look here today at Ethereum Classic, which is a very good one. It's a classic, right? It's hard not to say that because it's actually done some interesting things in the past. I mean, I've been covering this one for some time. I got a really good community built on Ethereum Classic. So thank you so much for your recommendation that I cover this here today. And I got some great news for you. We are seeing some really good signals, and I'm confident this thing will take off in the very near future. So, stick around for the details. Of course, we're going to take a look at the technical charts. No fundamentals here, but I am not a financial advisor. I must tell you that. This is for educational purposes only. You should do your own research and just bear in mind that you should take ownership of your trade. It's important to do that. Learn as much as you can. So stick around to the end. I guarantee you'll learn a thing or two here today if you're new to the channel. And if not, thanks again for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate all the support I have. I mean, things have grown tremendously in the last 4 months, and I can tell you since Crypto Cash's inception, I've seen a lot of good feedback. So thank you all so much for your support. Really appreciate you. And if you'd like to support me, I do have a Patreon account, of course, as well. Link in the description below. I share my signals, my trades with my community members, and you can follow along. I let you know exactly when I take entry, when I take exit, and where my stop losses are. And I'm trending around 75 to 85% overall success in the last 2 months since we started. So I got a good group of folks growing there as well. Thank you so much for your support. Furthermore, very last thing is my Telegram community. Check that out on your own time. There's no cost. It's just a really good environment to be able to learn as much as you can. Got some good group of folks there, some nice admins, and we'll help you out if possible. Feel free to jump in there, message me if you'd like. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum Classic. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline in the market so we know exactly what's going on. All right, so first things first is Bitcoin. Before we start, of course, I like to utilize TradingView.com desktop application. This is a paid version just because it gives me more than 2 indicators at a time. Highly recommend you consider that yourself just because it makes things a lot easier. I have a link in the description below for a free month discount to kind of see if you like that and get the feel for it. But that is, of course, something that might help both of us out. So thank you if you do consider that. Either way you look at it here, again, we're on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. And what I want to show you is, first of all, just the simple moving averages. Okay, now the SMA lines are important on the 4-hour chart and the 1-day chart because that's what the industry leaders are utilizing consistently day in and day out. And when it comes to the 4-hour chart, that's to me the most effective time frame to utilize these indicators just because they work the most consistently. So the 200 is the purple line here, and the blue, correction, sorry, not the blue, the orange is the 50, right? So right now, if you look, you'll see the 50-day simple moving average was tested, rejected, now it's working as a potential resistance. Now it takes a little while for the 50 to kind of be consistent or remain consistent, in other words, because the simple fact that it's commonly going to waver above and below because it moves a lot faster with the price action versus the 200, right? But regardless of that fact, it is above resistance. We also have a resistance level at 40,000 even. It also works and serves as a support level too, but it's been predominantly a little bit more of a resistance. However, it was tested almost 10, 11 times now, so there's a good chance it'll break through and stay above this next time. Furthermore, we've also got a major support at 37,000. So I have these little channels here, 37 to 40. That's kind of the downside, so to speak, where we've got the upside of 40 to 42.5. Okay. Below that, of course, we've got a major support at 30,000. I think most of us are aware of that at this time. But I would say if we can break free of 42,500, we'll be off to the races and we'll see some interesting things happen with Bitcoin from there, because that's pretty much the very last major resistance level. So you saw it was tested a few times here. I would say the next major would be 45, 46,000 roughly. Okay, so we'll see what happens, but that is Bitcoin. Looking at Ethereum, we've got a major resistance 2,900, major support 1,725, and of course somewhere in the middle, approximately 2,400. But what I recommend you do is some research on Ethereum right now, because there's some really good stuff cooking. They got some good things. We got this ascending triangle pattern forming. Oh geez, that's a terrible line. Let's do this. Okay. That's generally what an ascending triangle pattern looks like, and it will essentially break upwards too. In fact, we could even extend this out a little bit and kind of see, get a little bit more, because there's a chance it may not break out right away, but there's a strong indication of a breakout in an upward fashion. I would say if we're going to go statistics here, 70-80% of the time it breaks upwards in an ascending triangle pattern. Okay, so that's forming right now for Ethereum, so that's a pretty good consideration for a long position. If Bitcoin can jump back up past 40,000, I think we're going to see Ethereum take off. Just my speculation. Actually, more so if we see Bitcoin pass 42,500, then Ethereum will really take off. But again, there's good fundamentals right now, which is why Bitcoin is going, essentially down, whereas Ethereum is going up. This is actually very reminiscent of this time frame here. So you take a look at this guy. That is what happens when Bitcoin goes sideways, and there's really good fundamentals for Ethereum. So can't say I didn't warn you, right? So that's Ethereum. Moving on to Ethereum Classic. Now these are two independent coins. Obviously, there's no correlation, directly because that. Yes, same blockchain, but just keep in mind Ethereum has its own set of fundamentals. But it is kind of Ethereum Junior, for lack of better terms, or the poor man's Ethereum. Don't quote me on that. That's just some statements that I'd like to throw out there. But regardless, Ethereum Classic is an interesting one because it really took off really hard back here. In fact, the only video of mine that really essentially went viral is one of my Ethereum Classic videos, because I put one out like right here just before on like the 6th, and it went crazy bonkers the day after. I mean, look at that. In 24 hours, we had like 90% increase. And just in general, from that 2 or 3 week period, we're looking at like 360%, like some ungodly number. But that all happened, after the major sell-off from Bitcoin, right? That's the interesting thing about all this. Bitcoin sold off on the 17th of April. Let's see if we can find that. That's this guy here. Of course, you can still see there was an impact, right? Right here. There we go. So 17th of April, that's basically when Bitcoin sold off. Then we had like the 25th, and then things kind of ramped up after that. But generally speaking, yeah, it just went crazy nuts. Let's take a look at the one-day chart and work our way down, because it's probably a better way to identify what's going on here with Ethereum Classic. And obviously, again, we've already identified that there was a sell-off from Bitcoin. It wasn't really all that impacted. So what's odd about this is that Ethereum Classic performs very well, contrary to Bitcoin doing poorly. Obviously, this is not, a good indication, because, this looks almost identical to the channel that we have from Bitcoin recently. But prior to the 18th, this guy right here, it was doing fairly well. Of course, it was retracing 50% of the way it should have. That's a very standard thing. I mean, normally you see a 50% retracement. Man, I cannot draw a straight line today. Sorry. This is just a general number here, but anytime you see this large of an indication, cut that halfway, and that's basically your average, right? That's where it should retrace back down to. So Ethereum Classic's average true range should be somewhere in the range of about 85. Based on that extreme increase and the retracement, it wouldn't have retraced this far if it wasn't for that major catalyst from the China sell-off. So just something to note, something to understand. That's essentially, causing that to happen. But ever since then, it's created this shelf, and that is now a major resistance. In fact, we could probably just call that a resistance, because honestly, that was tested a few times. It tried to break free from that after the fact, but there was just so much more selling off from Bitcoin that it just couldn't handle it. But good news is 200-day simple moving average is working as a support. The 50 is now a support level as well, so this is pretty big for Ethereum Classic. Another big thing too is the fact that Bitcoin sold off pretty hard lately. Like, take a look at this. Watch it go back. This is Bitcoin these last 3 days, right? So that is almost let's just go from top to bottom, it's about 8.5%. I mean, look at this. Is there much of a retracement there? No. That means that Ethereum Classic is kind of almost moving independent of Bitcoin. I think this is a sure sign that we're going to see some type of increase in movement from Ethereum Classic soon, because it is kind of breaking free from Bitcoin. And usually when you see that happen, there's some type of run that occurs afterwards. Obviously, MACD on the 23rd, no surprise there. That was after Bitcoin jumped up over 30,000. Let's move on to the 4-hour chart and see. We're up over the 50 and the 200. Fantastic. So all good things for Ethereum Classic here so far. RSI is right in the middle, but we're staying above 50, which is great. That basically means we have a support level at 50 RSI. We've also got a retracement, of course, or a divergence from the MACD, which is standard, considering the fact that we had a sell-off roughly 24 hours ago. Again, that is reflecting of Bitcoin right there, but it's not as strong a sell-off as Bitcoin experienced. Okay, so in other words, Ethereum Classic is retracing when Bitcoin retraces, but it's not like an exponential version of that. A lot of times altcoins will, Bitcoin goes down 1%, altcoins go down 1.5%, 2%. This is almost a 0.5% variance between the two, and I think that's a really good sign. That's something you want to celebrate. So I see everything I see so far on the 1-day and the 4-hour chart are fantastic for Ethereum Classic. Moving on to the Ishimoku cloud, we're in the cloud. We haven't broken free from it yet. hopefully in the next 2 hours we can break above and stay above, and that would be a strong indication of a buy signal. I'm gonna have to mark this and consider sending out a signal here to my patrons, because honestly this is a really good sign. I like the way this is setting up. This is doing very good, because you can see it broke down here below the cloud, but it stayed above, and it didn't stay below the cloud for very long. It means we're still in a bullish trend, and you know, as we all know, the trend is your friend. So I think that's a very good sign. I'm going to consider a buy signal there. Just pay close attention. Let's go ahead and take a look at the TD sequential. It'll probably give us some false positives here. Yeah, we're at a 6. Not really a big deal, because honestly, when you get these numbers, they're constantly retracing in a state of consolidation, which is what's happening right now for Ethereum Classic. So, oh man, if Bitcoin can surpass 40,000 and start making its way to 42.5, we're going to see a strong pump from Ethereum Classic. And it's going to be a pretty good one too, because obviously it's been doing a lot of sideways action when Bitcoin. I mean, look at this. This is Bitcoin. Sideways up, sideways down. Ethereum Classic, straight sideways, up, more sideways. So these are positive independent movements of Bitcoin, and I like it a lot. Moving on to the 15, really not much to extract here, honestly, just based on the simple fact that it's kind of consolidating. We had a retracement and an increase followed by a consolidation period. But all in all, right now at this point, the price is over EMA and price over VWAP. Well, primarily it's above VWAP. That's the most important thing here, because it's working as a support level, especially being 23 hours in the trading cycle. We're looking pretty good for that standard deviation not to be too high. So that's a good sign there. Furthermore, we are over EMA, but that can't really be counted on right now because there's no essential bullish or bearish trend. So nothing's happened yet so far at this point. So that being said, Ethereum Classic's in pretty good shape. So all in all, my prediction for Ethereum Classic is that it will take off very, very soon. It's been held down for too long. In fact, let me take a quick look. Yep, here's a great sign too. Take a look at this. When the RSI is up over 50 on the one-day chart for more than just, say, a few days, it's a strong indication of the fact that the bulls are in control. You see I come up here and retrace back down, but it's staying above now for the last, what? Well, since the 24th. That's over a week, right? So we're looking really good here for a continuation. I know it may not seem like a lot because the numbers are still feeling pretty small and pretty low compared to these kind of increases we were probably used to. But I can tell you though that Ethereum is going to be a pretty good long position. I would say at this point, let's go ahead and mark this as well. We are looking at, there could be a potential resistance at about $57, $58. I'll just go ahead and loosely mark that here. We'll see what happens. But if it can get past 58, just say round number 58 to $60, past that little channel, we should see onwards and upwards, or to infinity and beyond, if you're familiar with that reference, upwards about $84, right? There's a good chance. I think 84 is probably the likely highest point, or that is going to be a major resistance level, because again, that was its average true range before the major sell-off, and also previously worked as a support. So I think that would be the next major catalyst, is to see Bitcoin trend towards 50,000. We can get some 42.5 thousand or higher from Bitcoin. Ethereum will probably reach 58 and probably likely exceed that if we can break 42,500 on Bitcoin. All right, so that's kind of my prediction there. I hope you find benefit here. Please consider subscribing, reference my Patreon account, show your support, of course. If you do like this, just note that I utilize all of these technicals that we use, minus the fundamentals, of course, in my swing trading that I utilize on my signals through my Patreon account, right? So I share all of my signals with my community members there, so you can basically trade along with me if you'd like. I still have a 75% success rate even after all this craziness from Bitcoin previously, and I generally average about 80 to 85%. So, feel free to jump in there. Now's the best time, of course. It's early in the Patreon billing cycle, so check that out in your own time. Maybe consider that. If not, Telegram, jump in there, learn as much as you can. Feel free to message me directly if you'd like. Thank you so much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.